Hello everyone, welcome. In this video, I'm going to run you through the differences among block store, object store, and then file storage. Okay. So before we go on, let's give an example. Okay. So within AWS block storage, okay, we can give an example as EBS. Okay. EBS volume. When you create your EC2, okay, you will need what we call a block store or instance store to attach to your virtual machine. Okay. For object store, we have S3, simple storage, okay? And then EFS is an example of what we call the file storage, right? Block store will allow you to store your data, okay? Let's say your spreadsheet or the data within your spreadsheet will be put in blocks, okay? All the data will be in blocks. But for S3 or object store, okay, with that one, the data are just flat. There's no structure to it, okay? They are all just like one lamp, okay? So what is the difference and what is this advantage between the block store and the object store? With the block store, you're able to edit incrementally your file. By that, I mean, when let's say one cell within your spreadsheet changes, you can just straight away go to the block, okay? That particular block holding the data will be changed, not the whole file system. Just that single cell or that block will be changed within your disk, okay? But for object store, if you make changes to the file, okay, the whole file needs to be replaced with the new one, with the updated info, okay? Again, for file storage, that one has what we call like a hierarchy, but behind the scene is also block store. Okay, so block storage and file storage, but for file storage, you can access it over the network. Okay. Again, another difference between the block store and then the file storage is for the block store, you can only mount it to one virtual machine. Okay. But for file store, basically, you can have more than one virtual machine sharing the one single file system. Okay, again, that's one difference between the block store and then the file storage. Okay, so let's move on. So with this block store allowing you to, make changes on one single file, okay, guess what it's going to do? It's going to also help you for what we call, retrieval of your data in a parallel form. That's going to make it fast for you to read and then write. That is why block stores are mainly good for databases because you are constantly reading and writing to the text itself. Okay, but for object store, you can only write to the file, okay, only once, but you can read as many as you can. Why? Because anytime you make changes to the file, okay, or when you are writing to the file, that changes will be replaced. Okay, to that end, you don't want to be constantly changing the file. So it's mainly suited for when you write once, but you are going to read many. So like injection, you are injecting, your files into your bucket. You just leave it there, but you can read as many as you can. To that end, object store are good for what we call static websites. But for block stores, they are good for what we call dynamic sites. Okay. Why? Because you can dynamically change the data within the block with ease. But this one is not flexible for that. Okay. So you are allowed to write many and then write only once and then read many. Okay. For this one, you can read many and write many. That is why it's good for databases. Okay. Again, you can actually scale this block store, and that will be what we call vertical scaling. Okay, but for object store, behind the scene, you don't need to do anything. Things are getting scaled horizontally for you. Okay. For S3, AWS behind the scene will do the scaling for you. Again, like I said, with file storage is similar to the block stores. I hope this maybe help you to understand the difference. The reason why we're doing this, we're going to dive into S3, and then S3 is mainly object store. People keep saying object store. What does it actually mean? That is why I've done this video. I hope this will help. Remember the key takeaway: block stores, the data are stored in blocks, so you can easily edit them incrementally. You can read and write so fast. Okay. But for object store, okay, you can write to it once and read many, and is therefore good for static website. An example is S3. Okay. Example of block store is EBS volume as you attach it to your virtual machines. Okay. So this, on a high level, this is the difference. I hope you learned something out of it. What I'll say is keep learning, and I'll see you in our next video. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.